Welcome back to our channel. Today, we're diving into a story that is filled with drama, thrill, and mystery. So make sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of our upcoming videos. While Amy professes that she believes in supernatural beings now, the real tale begins years ago with two ambitious researchers, namely Dr. Tim Fanning and Jonas Lear, who are looking in among the globe's most remote areas for cures. They stumble upon a wild human creature in the Bolivian highlands in the year 2015. Fanning is assaulted, but with his ability to remain alive, the wound turns him into Patient Zero, the source of the illness that will inevitably power Project Noah. After 3 years, the study has grown into a secure hospital that performs tests on inmates on death row. Each subject becomes a more sophisticated and risky version of the prior one. However, the researchers work slows until they decide they need kids because they think the immune system of children could regulate the illness rather than release it. As the work's true dangers become apparent, this choice indicates a complete shift for the team, confusing the line between experimental aspiration and ethics degeneration. Meanwhile, Agent Brad Wolgast, still reeling from the passing of his daughter, is given the task of taking in Amy Bellafonte, a 10-year-old abandoned child. However, his gut tells him something is wrong as soon as he meets. She is sharp, cautious, and totally solitary. He turns on his own personal power and decides to fight for her after discovering the real story about Project Noah. A chaotic nationwide escape follows, featuring car pursuits, restricted areas, and unexpected moments of friendship. Sensing that Walgast is the one adult who cannot leave her, Amy gradually acquires confidence in him, despite her constant issues. She eventually transcends being cargo and becomes Walgast's chance for redemption, as he helps her deal with her mother's death. The emotional consequences are raised in unexpected ways by their developing friendship. However, when the military locks them within a suburban police station, their freedom is erased. After Walgast gets wounded during the shootout and tries to give up to protect Amy, his former apprentice, Clark Richards, takes both of them into custody. Amy explains at the end of the episode that she and Brad must endure whatever comes next together since they are both tied by their fate and the danger that lies within Project Noah. Amy and Brad are on the run again. Brad avoids Clark's team for long enough to hide from them on a school bus, even though his wound is getting worse. Amy's quick thinking keeps them hidden and enhances their growing relationship. Tensions rise back at Project Noah. The infections are becoming quiet, intelligent, and strangely connected, which concerns Drs. Sykes and Lear are more and more. Carter, the most current death row prisoner to go through the procedure, starts having vivid visions with Shauna Babcock and Fanning, indicating that the virals are able to penetrate the thoughts of the living. Meanwhile, Brad falls from bleeding, prompting Amy to secretly call Lila, Brad's ex-wife, and a doctor. The call suggests where they are, but it also shows Amy's fear of losing the only protection she has left. Brad and Amy soon reach the residence of Lassie Antoine, Brad's former Navy trainer. Lacey, tough and smart, sees the danger and offers them refuge. In a rare moment of calm, Brad tells Lila that he wishes to take care of Amy because safeguarding her is the first meaningful purpose he's felt since his daughter died. His emotional healing contrasted sharply with the increasing panic at Project Noah, where Carter faces greater vivid psychic assaults from Fanning and Shauna's shared mental domain. Meanwhile, Clark directs a full-scale assault on Brad's known supporters. When the military surrounds Lacey's home, a gunfight erupts. Lacey got shot. Brad, unable to stop everyone by himself, gives up in the hopes of diverting the fire from Amy. But Amy refuses to walk away from him. Instead, she jumps at him in the open, forcing Clark's team to capture them both alive. Her actions helped save Lila, giving Brad no option but to go back to Project Noah and plunge into the center of the horror he tried to stay away from. A recollection shows Clark's difficult bond with Shauna Babcock, Patient 11. She is one of the few virals who appears to be human, with a slower and more psychologically complicated evolution. Clark once showed compassion before her illness, and her memory haunts him. In the present, efforts heat up as Brad and Amy arrive at the location. Though Brad tries to convince Amy that they will leave, the environment is oppressive, and Project Noah has begun to unravel quickly than anybody can admit. Guards begin to have apparitions related to the virals, implying that ill inmates can psychically influence and command those who are living. Shauna demonstrates how harmful they are. After a guard continually insults her, she unleashes an enraged attack that takes him in seconds. The regulatory board analyzes the tape, realizing that the virals are not dumb monsters. They are tactical, flexible, and entirely capable of choosing their victims. Meanwhile, Dr. Lear suffers with regret about the project's disastrous consequences. He sees the virals grow beyond their outward changes to become mentally united. A community with Tim Fanning at its center center. His dedication to the project decreases when he sees the increasing impact on the crew, especially Carter, who remains nervous about the ideas forced on him. Brad, now trapped inside Project Noah, wants to be close to Amy. Their friendship poses a problem to the facility's management, who see Brad as a liability. However, Sykes begins to sympathize with the girl she helped bring in. The ethical lines collapse as she learns how much Amy still has to endure. Fear grows as the virals become more powerful, their psychic reach grows, and the staff becomes less stable. Brad knows that Amy is at the center of an enormous catastrophe. Despite being apprehended, he quietly prepares for the time when he must act because protecting Amy is no longer an assignment. This is a promise. Within Carter's dreadful vision, he sees Rachel Wilson at first living next to him in bed, then suddenly drowning in the water. Fanning's voice breaks the situation, reminding Carter that the clock is up and he has to pick a side. Carter snaps up in his cage, sunlight flooding through the curtains. The light hurts his skin and eyes, so he uses a remote to close the blinds. He goes along the printed symptom list on the wall, which includes fever, vomiting, sunlight sensitivity, disorientation, and seizures, and ticks off each one. Amy, next door, thinks Carter is having an issue. She has her own symptom report, which includes loss of appetite. She worries that Carter is experiencing shifts faster than she is, and worries the same destiny awaits her. Brad stops her from spiraling and proposes they seek medical attention. He asks to speak with Dr. Lear, saying Amy displays every symptom on the list. Meanwhile, Lear and Dr. Pett examine viral scans of the brain. He observes that the people taking part have changed and that their late-night dreams correspond to strong electromagnetic spikes in their brains. Pett disapproves of the concept, but Lear points out that Fanning's EM readings are tenfold greater than the others, a powerful signal they must not disregard. Just then, Richard suddenly encounters one of Shauna Babcock's psychic perceptions. She tells him that one of his men is ready to lose control. Sure enough, Richards gets a confirmation moments later, saying that Paulson is snapping. Paulson was found looking into David Winston's cell, which is one of the virals. Winston has Paulson revisit painful memories from his time as a long-term trucker and serial killer. Paulson thinks that the virals have authority over the soldiers and questions Richards about how he knows they aren't real lab rats. Richards rejects him, citing cabin fever, and sends him for a psychological test. Meanwhile, Amy and Carter continue communicating by placing notes beneath the adjoining wall. Amy fears Carter has lied about how well he's doing, but she tries to encourage him anyhow. Brad is capable of obtaining clearance for Amy to go outside, and the security personnel build her a treehouse as a present intended as a distraction, but for Brad, it offers a chance to observe the facility from above. Amy's enthusiasm builds as she learns the treehouse provides views outside Project Noah's entrances. During Carter's medical checkup, he learns about Fanning, only to hear that he once was intelligent, calculating, and deadly. Carter shares that Fanning keeps coming back in his dreams, demanding him to make a decision, even though Carter is uncertain what that decision is. Sykes is flirting poorly with Richards over the return of tater tots to the cafeteria, and she confronts him about why he halted Babcock's sentencing. Richards lies, stating that the DOD asked him to buckle down. Sykes finds out that this never took place, which increases her doubts. Meanwhile, Carter's ailment worsens. As his appetite decreases, his response to sunlight increases, and when picking up one of Amy's notes, one of his teeth falls out of his mouth, which is the initial hint of fang development. His memories continue to relax, recreating his relationship with Rachel, from when they first met at an open house to the beginnings of their romance. Meanwhile, Annie, using the scope that Brad gave her, looks at an assassin on the roof. Before Brad can get her, the sniper starts firing. Paulson is utterly insane. He tries to blow up the power plant and wants an aircraft. If he fires, the entire building loses power, including the tools needed for Carter's treatment. Brad and Amy dive for shelter. Amy suddenly finishes ahead of Brad, suggesting that the medication is enhancing her abilities. Inside, Carter gets a high body temperature. Lear and Sykes find that anything done to sap the virus results in exponential mutation. Worse, Fanning grabs power from the other virals and sends it into Carter, accelerating his transformation. Brad approaches Paulson while working as a hostage negotiator. Paulson shares troubling details such as the virals do not plan to retreat. The armed forces will free them. Richards is also partially to blame, having been persuaded by Babcock. Before Paulson responds, Richards blasts him in the head, murdering him promptly. Brad shrieked in frustration. He was close to revealing the whole truth. Carter's fever surges to 106 degrees Fahrenheit within the laboratory. Lear gives Carter the newly constructed medicine, but Fanning appears during his fever dream, reliving Rachel's death and influencing him emotionally. Fanning reassures Carter that life has only ever crushed him and gives him the ability to die weak or rise strong. Carter has a moment to decide. Carter's body shakes as he comes to reality. His eyes flared into an abnormally bright orange. After taking out his IV, he rushes out of the ice bath and assaults assaults a medical technician, killing her right away. The room erupts into disarray and Lear, Sykes, and Pet escape. Sykes finds blood running over Lear's face, dangerously close to his mouth and eye when the assault finally stops. This is a quiet, frightening warning that Lear may have been revealed. The organization instantly looks uncomfortable when Horace Gilder, an established DoD enforcer who just got promoted to Deputy Director of Special Weapons, enters. His standing comes beyond him. Those who submit to him often disappear, usually to hide uncomfortable facts. He does not long to press for explanations for the increasing disasters, such as Paulson's death, Carter's murder of a medical technician, power outages, and many security breaches. Knowing that Gilder is adept at attributing responsibility while proclaiming triumphs that aren't his, Brad subtly warns Amy to exercise care with him. Brad decides that they have to leave the compound before things get more serious because its stability is fast deteriorating. He noticed that the kitchen crew frequently opens a side entrance to sneak out for smoking breaks. This is an attack on safety without an alert. They might then move out through an underground tunnel. Brad pushes Amy to make a choice, even though she is apprehensive about what might be inside. As the stress inside Project Noah continues to increase, she finally swears in, finalizing the deal for their next action. Gilder argues that Project Noah has spent $1 billion without any justification. Now that he is in control of special weapons, he makes it clear that he is solely engaged in obtaining armed characteristics from the virals and has no interest in cures or morals. He completely disregards Brad and asks for Amy to be taken to him privately. In another case, Lear willingly limits himself to level 4B with the virals because he could have gotten ill and because seclusion keeps him out of Gilder's grasp. Lear is determined, despite Sykes' pleas, not to place himself among creatures that have already forfeited their sense of humanity. Because of Carter's transformation, he concludes that the imminent danger is real, and he makes Nicole face an unthinkable scenario. If he changes, she must bring about a stop to him. After negotiating for his wife, Elizabeth, to be taken to the facility, Lear finds that, due to her dementia, she is unable to recognize him. He feels torn by the present moment. He eventually admits that Project NOAH is doomed and will never be able to rescue her after years of defending every sacrifice. Lacey sees an extinction looming beyond the structure, something substantially greater than any single mission. Shaken by her loss of journalist Sierra Thompson, whose revelations on Project Noah passed away with her, Lila warns her to rely on impulse and training as they go. Inside the compound, Sykes and Pet update Gilder on the deteriorating situation. They confirm that the viruses are now psychic, able to precisely control the minds of people while communicating across cells. With the possible exception of Amy, whose growth is basically distinct, Sykes is insistent that the study should be stopped and the study participants removed. Gilder refuses to turn off anything. He seeks to control telepathic rather than see it as a risk. Perceiving an opportunity to improve himself, Pet claims that he can use cerebral stimulation to regulate the virals. He has an entire day to demonstrate it, per Gilder. Brad and Amy carefully finish their escape plan in the cafeteria. Then it happens that Amy finishes Brad's words because she hears him thinking them, not because she is guessing. Amy has the same psychic power that Gilder is searching for, and she's growing stronger by every minute. Amy shout alerts Winston to Brad during the getaway attempt, causing disorder across Project Noah. Helicopters check the area with spotlights while troops hunt Winston on foot. Amy gets dragged into an elevator by Brad, but it pauses in the middle of the drop. Brad asks Amy how she produced that sound explosion when she awakens, but she cannot bring herself to answer his question. Brad is more interested in keeping Amy secure while protecting her abilities than Amy is in recovering her lost book. Eventually, Richards brings them out of the elevator by pushing it open. Brad gently tells Amy not to overlook her skills. Elsewhere, Sykes is in grief over Dr. Pet's corpse, but Gilder is delighted. Amy's transformation and Winston's rapid growth show that the research is now producing results. He is startled that Sykes, who used to be a firm devotee, is suddenly withdrawing. He threatens that she and Lear will be held responsible if Winston damages half of Colorado. In an apparition, Sykes finds Shauna waiting directly in front of her. Shauna takes her back to a point 6 months before, when she had just acquired an illness, and convinced Sykes to buy her an eerie film to waste time by using beauty and fragility. In the present, Brad, Amy, Richards, and Gilder stay inside a secure space. To Brad's distress, Amy can't stop fretting about her lost book. The worst possible information is given by Richards, who says Winston had pulled out his monitoring chip and exited the compound. When Gilder realizes they have to find him before he contacts anyone beyond the prison, he becomes frightened. With her eyes shut, Amy quietly calls out to Winston through her new psychic link. A fragmented image of headlights cutting through a dark road suddenly bursts into clarity. Gilder is immediately thrilled when she admits that she can see what he sees. He wants her to embark on a search right away. Amy imposes herself as Brad fights back. She wants to help. Meanwhile, Lila's kidnapper keeps dragging her onto Noah until something induces him to stop, a body lying in the center of his path. It has gone viral. Winston strikes as he comes to investigate. Lila runs into a forest amid the chaos. She has lived long enough for the scheme to keep working on her, even if it's not the most efficient solution. The lost automobile is quickly spotted by the search team. When Brad finds Lila's wallet within, he instantly fears the worst. Convinced that he is to blame for the kidnapping, he immediately strikes Richards. Richards claims that he had nothing to do with Lila's abduction and simply invited her to the property because she was a risk and an appealing target. Amy suddenly grabs hold of another vision, this time of a cabin hidden away in the forest. She dashes forward without pausing, forcing the others to pursue her. Brad is furious. Meanwhile, Gilder is becoming more and more pleased. Inside the cabin, Winston has already assaulted a woman, but gets stopped during mealtime by Fanning, who appears to criticize him for harming the overall scheme. Fanning then grants Winston an order to execute Amy. While Jonas knows that Elizabeth's illness is getting worse, they still have short, quiet times together. Elizabeth finally understands that the healing she obtained is both short and deadly when he tells her the real story about Fanning and the mission. Brad and Amy go into yet another heated dispute back at the cabin. Amy blames him of betraying her and maintains that he is a man who attempted to abduct her rather than her father. The conflict between them only increases until Gilder steps in and pulls Amy away. In an attempt to find a treatment for Elizabeth, Sykes and Jonas analyze Amy's altered virus with Fanning's variety. Every outcome indicates a failure is imminent. If you're enjoying this recap so far, please hit like and subscribe for more. Lila finds the woman Winston bit is still alive but quickly improving. The woman assaults before she has an opportunity to respond. The Noah crew shows up on schedule. According to the virus's established principles, being exposed to direct sunlight gradually destroys the virus. Lila participates in the conversation on how quickly it spreads. Brad discovers that the pandemic threat is much worse than he had anticipated. Amy offers an additional perspective on water and pipes. Richards finds the nearest pumping station with ease. Brad and Richards settle in at the pumping station, but Amy and Lila remain outside as observers. Inside, the two fight through Winston's spreading infection. Winston suddenly charges Amy outdoors. He is burned by the direct sunlight, but it doesn't stop him from approaching while she runs, thinking she is quicker. Amy, who is imprisoned in a garage, utilizes her greater strength to knock down bookshelves upon Winston, holding him down sufficiently for Brad to come and attack him. Each infectious agent that Winston produced disappears the soon he passes away. Following this, Amy cries by herself. After finding her, Brad speaks to her about the death of his child, Eva. They start to mend the harm that has been done among them. They embrace as genuine partners as the occasion comes to an end. Gilder isn't done yet. He gives a directive to keep Amy apart from Brad and Lila. One of Gilder's men hits Brad behind the back as he is being pulled out, rendering him unconscious. Fearing that Amy and Elizabeth will perish along with Fanning, Sykes dashes to the facility to prevent Jonas from using ultraviolet rays to execute Fanning. Just in time, Jonas turns off the electricity. The surviving viruses are furious as they start to heal. Sykes is drawn into the viral's psychic realm by Shauna's manifestation. Sykes instantly and horrifyingly realizes that he is no longer seeing something awful from the outside. She is imprisoned within it. Brad watches his daughter Eva playing soccer in a heartwarming reminiscence. Her excitement and enthusiasm fill the pitch. She is the focal point of his universe, and for that reason, any other thing is important. In the present, Brad and Lila are trapped in the trunk of a Project Noah car and tied together with zips. Amy has completely transformed into Brad's surrogate daughter, and he is desperate to get back to her. They seek something that's powerful enough to hack through the plastic bindings by feeling around the trunk together. At Noah, Sykes and Gilder talk with the Secretary of Defense. Sykes acknowledges that the initiative has descended into a catastrophic disaster. In response, Gilder frames it as a manageable issue and suggests significant operational adjustments, such as severely suppressing the virals, increasing safety changes, and using their brain as a kind of weapon. The objectives are made quite apparent that Amy and all other virals will perish along with Fanning. Sykes feels shocked but helpless when the Secretary gives Gilder complete authority over Project NOAH. The change is abrupt and unsettling. She alerts Richards to the possibility of murderous acts under the current dictatorship. Richards is more concerned with the reality that Brad and Lila are still not back than with policy. Sykes' intuition that something is extremely amiss is confirmed when he contrasts the ambiance of the institution with The Shining, and he makes the decision to look for it personally. As Elizabeth's shift quickens, Jonas stays by her side. She feels as though something is working itself out of her body, causing excruciating internal internal anguish. Her skin is now burning from ultraviolet radiation, indicating that the virus has completely activated. Even when it becomes difficult for him to disregard indications, Jonas refuses to give up. Brad and Lila cooperate to break away from their shackles back in the trunk. In flashbacks, recollections of their life as a family come to light, highlighting what Brad is battling to keep safe and contrasting with the peril they currently face. Amy keeps lacking control when Richards visits her at Noah and begs if she could apply her powers to find Brad. In the midst of the turmoil, he gives her a bag of barbecue chips and reassures her, a modest act of human decency. Carter shows up in Amy's head when she is by herself. He cautions that she will undergo a transformation and that understanding how the viral world functions will be necessary for her to survive. Carter may assist her locate her book and get ready for the collective awareness that awaits her within the hive, but Brad won't be able to accompany her into the future. When Gilder and Martinez meet, Martinez carefully describes a complete redesign of the building's safety measures. While Gilder continues to be the visible representative of Noah, Martinez takes over under what goes on and positions himself as the organization's genuine designer. A flashback revisits the event when Eva died. Brad makes a modest but permanent action by sending her into a building with his wallet as he rushes to get the markers. As he and Lila get ready to go, the recollection looms over him like a fresh wound. Amy withdraws inside her psychic haven, a home she built with Carter's help, where she ignores Fanning's effect and read A Wrinkle in Time. In an effort to entice her to join his viral family, he alternates between seduction, deceit, and pretending to be vulnerable. Amy pushes back, demanding the truth about him, while Fanning retreats under puzzles and partial responses. Amy's temperature climbs in real life, indicating the beginning of her metamorphosis. Sykes, who thinks they are on the verge of an HIV-style therapeutic innovation, is overruled when Gilder has her transported to level 4B. Rather, Sykes, Richards, and the other Project Noah employees are fired by Gilder, who also gives them fake pleasantries before kicking them out of the building, essentially unleashing and feeding the virals. Fanning's appearance of compassion collapses within the psychic environment, and Amy springs conscious-bound inside a level 4B prison, completely exposed to the virals for a brief time, along with Shauna Fanning and everyone else that surround her. Carter confronts Fanning because he won't allow Amy to suffer the same destiny. He is overpowered by Fanning, who makes it obvious that Amy will change her feed and assist in making their getaway. She is the last member of the hive, the 12th. Elsewhere, Richards, Brad, Sykes, and Lila defeat Gilder and take the entry card, preventing their way into level 4B. Brad stays near Amy, but she does not want to let him unchain her, afraid she might lose her grip and cause harm to someone. Richards falls into recollections of Shauna prior to her metamorphosis as the confrontation intensifies, including her anxiety, their peaceful dinner visit, and the psychological connection that still binds them together, a weakness that Fanning keeps taking advantage of. In the present, Gray shows up with full safety authorization, despite being just a janitor. Following Fanning's orders, he uses the mop's handle to disrupt Project Noah's communication devices. It becomes clear as Richards meets Gilder that Martinez, the alleged safety advisor, never existed. Throughout, Viral Number 2 had been projecting him, controlling Gilder and stealthily moving the location in the direction of viral domination. Richards injects the cells with lethal gas. Amy is the only one who survives. Richards appoints Brad as level 4B's strategic lead as control collapses, and Shauna tries one more time to win Richards over as the virals boil. She promises his downfall as the unavoidable price of his resistance, sealing his doom. At last, Sykes creates a vaccine that prevents the viral key from attaching to human lock cells. Everything falls apart when she makes Amy's medication. After trapping Lila within the facility and rendering her helpless, Gray takes the safety keys needed to unlock the locked doors. Amy's fever spikes. She is drawn into a mental trek by Fanning, who leads her to a cave where she must choose between accepting her viral metamorphosis and staying human. Brad broadcasts his support as the end draws near. She must pick her life, even if this means betraying the vow they made to one another. Amy is overcome with resolve as she remembers Brad and her mother within the passageway. She resolves she won't turn into a monster at the halfway mark and struck a match, not as an immediate danger, but as a statement of her determination. She runs in the direction of the light and she appears completely human, unaltered. When she awakens, the virals boil. Gray unlocks each compartment on 4B by inserting the 2 keys. Just as Fanning gets closer, Brad pulls Amy and Gilder behind the closed door. Amy changes direction, a terrible combination of power and control shining in her infectious, bright eyes. In a flashback, an infected Fanning asks Jonas Lear to take his life in Bolivia. Jonas declines, holding out for the possibility that the illness can be cured. According to Amy, when decisions are disregarded for an extended period of time, monsters are created. Brad, Amy, and Gilder are currently blocked by the virals beating on the safety door. Brad tells Amy that she is still herself when her eyes revert back to brown. She affirms that she has no yearning for his blood. Lila, Nicole, and the rest of the staff reassemble. Lear understands that Amy is the 12th, completing Fanning's hive brain, and that her awakening also set off the virals. He begs Richards to slay 4B before it's too late, but Richards won't give up Brad and the other members. While technicians attempt to reboot the network and free the lift, Amy slips out into psychic territory to face Fanning. She declines his demand that she give her power to the family. In time, Brad locates her and drags her back. When the virals abruptly stop talking, Gilder becomes alarmed. Heavy crashes resound over them as the rebooting turns off the power. The virals are in the vents. Brad yells to get everyone to flee. In order to defend herself from the oncoming virals, Nicole retreats to arm herself. She left Richards with one last choice: to demolish the building. As virals descend from above, an elevator combat breaks out. Carter snatches Lila in the chaos. Amy begs him for forgiveness, but Carter's desire for blood overwhelms him. As the remaining people push forward into the lift, Brad kills him and frees Lila. Lila was bitten. Brad promises to bring back the remedy when she begs him to stop it. After that, Brad battles his way down to the lab. Amy is by Lila's side, holding her hand as Richards pulls her to safety. Richards stops Gilder before he can say anything more after he proclaims Brad gone once more. After examining Amy, Jonas concludes that she is in optimal wellness. When she talks about the passageway, Jonas understands that she might not be as connected to Fanning's existence as the others are. Amy is a novelty. Just as Shauna falls from the ceiling, Sykes activates the entryway and sneaks out of the facility. Sykes hides rather than flees. She is drawn into a psychic realm by Shauna, who questions whether virals are meant to be murderers and seeks validation and meaning. Nicole gives her a brief moment of unanticipated courage and willpower. But then Brad rushes in and starts shooting Shauna. Shauna falls, but she survives. After radioing that Sykes is okay and the treatment has been obtained, Brad escapes with Nicole into Fanning's prison, which is a terrible decision because the viruses swiftly encircle them. Gilder pushes to start the bomb timer in the control room. Richard stumbles, caught between etiquette and the survival of his closest associates down below, while Lear reluctantly agrees that Brad has been granted as much time as necessary. Amy gets up next to Lila, aware of what is going to take place and feeling the approaching disaster. None of the skilled security personnel were able to take out each newly infectious person in their heads as Lacey calmly and precisely travels through the NOAH compound. She discovers Jonas alone at the base of the grand stairway in the old hotel headquarters, contemplating suicide while holding a revolver. Lacey won't let him take the simple route when he acknowledges that he is to blame for the disaster. She informs him that salvation necessitates effort rather than flight, citing scripture. She grabs the rifle and pulls him back into combat. After 30 days, Brad, Amy, and Lila reside in a secluded cabin in Oregon. Unaware that Amy covertly spat out the majority of the meals they prepare for her, Brad teaches her survival skills. Brad and Lila are on the food run when they learn on the radio that major cities across America are collapsing one by one. Brad maintains that traveling is too risky, but Lila thinks they should take the remedy straight to the CDC. They meet Brian, an isolated survivor monitoring viral hotspots outside a shutdown gas station. The Pacific Northwest is still tranquil, while Las Vegas has absolutely no viral action, according to his charts. Brad recognizes the pattern, realizing that each inmate turned viral has come back to their hometown, indicating Shauna's guiding impact. Thanks to the half-cure in his body, Clark is still living and manages a refugee shelter in Las Vegas. He continues to nourish Shauna, but her hunger is becoming more intense and deadly. Meanwhile, Lacey takes Jonas across the nation to the Global Health Federation within Virginia. The admission officer becomes restless when Jonas says that he cannot speedily replicate the cure, particularly after discovering that Brad and Lila are still traveling with the complete dose. Thereafter, there is a heated telephone conversation with the UN. Leaders from other countries explain that the CDC has already collapsed, demonstrating the degree to which the government's reaction is based on deceptive promises. A somber warning permeates the air as the call comes to an end. America's adversaries are considering military reactions, and an attack seems more likely. Back at the cabin, Brad keeps preparing Amy for a future that is uncertain. He combs her hair, teaches her about archery, and comforts her while she battles her dread of becoming like Fanning. Amy discloses that she saw an eventual destiny during her psychic meeting, in which she is the one who rescues Fanning from death. Through his deeds and determination, Brad keeps her grounded in reality and reminds her that her empathy, rather than the darkness associated with Fanning, defines her. Clark and Shauna face the cracks in their complicated relationship. Their conflict reveals jealousy, loneliness, and a poisonous reliance that neither of them can overcome. Clark opposes being bound to her, while Shauna dislikes being permitted to stay more human. Amy asks Fanning for clarification, and he takes advantage of her uncertainty. In order to torture her, he contacts their next-door neighbor Bob, making Amy see the results while boasting about his increasing death toll and pushing her near her true nature. Stumbling towards the cabin, Bob begs Brad to murder him. Bob abruptly turns and attacks Brad as he tries to lead him into the forest. Amy changes during the chaos, killing both of their neighbors in order to save Brad. Her teeth show and her eyes flashing orange. Jonas gets ready to put himself with the unproven antiviral once he returns to Virginia. When Lacey alerts him about the impending explosions, Jonas, unwilling to perish while Fanning survives. Eager to complete the task at hand, he buckles up. After giving Brad the remaining vial of Nichols' remedy, Amy sends him an apology message. No life is more important to her than his, according to her voiceover explaining her decision. Though she hates not rescuing him, she regrets leaving. As bombs fly through the sky, Brad awakens to find her missing. Cities collapse. The time goes by. 97 years afterwards, Amy walks through a desert landscape. She is older and stronger, armed with her bow. Her presence causes virals to disperse, but when one strikes, she slowly kills it and gives it rest with a gentle touch. A walled hill in the far distance is illuminated by lights. In the hopes that the agent is still alive and well, Amy moves in their direction. She states in the narration, "You taught me not to panic. I would know if you were dead. I therefore decide to think you're still alive. I might come across you here. I might be home by then." Well, that's it for today. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this recap, don't forget to hit like and subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments for more interesting videos like this.